David Solomon. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon Eastern. You think about it, we rant about it. Listen to us live on Facebook.
Hey, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy 2022. I hope it's going to be a happy one, and I hope that you enjoy the holidays. I am back, and you'll notice that my partner in crime is not. And I'll explain to you in a second why. So I hope you've had a good holiday and had a good break between in Christmas and New Year's and what have you. And New Year, and you would think new opportunities, new discussions, and yet here we are back again talking about our number one topic of 2021, which is COVID. Now, why is Stuart not here, for example, is because Stuart fell sick and, he's triple vaxxed. And unfortunately, he is not here because he's got a really bad cold, flu, whatever. But he can't go see a doctor because, you need a COVID test. And he's waiting for his COVID test, even though he is triple vaxxed. And the system is clogged and screwed up. And so my rant today is what the hell? This confusion, this ongoing confusion with COVID is just unreal. So let's take a step back for just a moment. Do you ever remember hearing the term Omicron? And now, unless you were a Greek major in university, Omicron didn't mean anything to you until this new variant popped up. And the new shit show that was created. And once again, panic set in. The media, the politicians, reveled in this notion that, look, we've got a new variant. We got a new thing to screw people with. Let's do it. Now, I'll stress again, Stuart and I are both vaccinated. We're not anti-vaxxers. Do not get me wrong. But this time around with Omicron, we think that the politicians and the media and everybody else who's handling it are just mismanaging it and creating this unnecessary, ridiculous confusion. So let's start. What are politicians really good at? Well, if they can't take credit for something, they have to blame. And so let's start with my favorite friend, the Premier of Quebec, who has decided that the reason we're in this problem is the unvaccinated. That's right. If it wouldn't have been for the unvaccinated in Quebec, we wouldn't be in this problem. That's crap. I'm sorry. Almost 90% of Quebecers are double vaxxed. And you're sitting here saying that the unvaccinated are causing a clog in the system. They're screwing everybody. Over the holidays, Mr. Legault had the balls to shut everything down, impose a curfew because they can't police the unvaccinated. If it wasn't for the unvaccinated, we wouldn't be in this problem. What a load of horse hockey. Unbelievable gall by Mr. Legault. It caught on because let's go now to the United States, where Mr. Biden has decided that COVID is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Now, what's incredible is that the scientists are saying that this is irrelevant about vaccination. Unfortunately, Omicron is highly contagious. If people are catching it, whether you're vaccinated or not. Okay, yes, the unvaccinated have a higher rate of catching it, but come on, this isn't a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Give me a break. And then this morning, of course, this is the best. The president of France is getting wrapped because he used bad words to describe the unvaccinated in France. You see, he's in an election mode and he has to show everybody and blame that the reason why COVID is not under control in France is because of the unvaccinated. Blame, blame, blame. So what are you and I supposed to believe? If we're supposed to believe our politicians, what are we supposed to believe? Is it really the unvaccinated that's causing the spread of Omicron? And the truth of the matter is it's not. And it's been proven time and time again. Politicians creating confusion, media presenting this and not challenging the leaders. And I mean, really not challenging the leaders. The interesting thing is when Mr. Legault was asked, hey, this curfew, do you have proof that it really works? And his answer was, it's complicated. It's complicated. No proof. And then later on, he says, yeah, but conditions. Come on. Blame, confusion, anger, frustration, disappointment, hurt. We're causing more problems this way. But it doesn't matter. The government keeps saying, trust us. Oh, yeah? But if I need a test, Where do I go? Well, if I'm in Quebec, I can't even get a test. You see, Quebec has decided that the PCR testing will only be for select higher groups. There are so many cases right now in Quebec, according to the government. They don't have enough time to test everybody publicly. Therefore, go get your own rapid test from a pharmacy. Oh, wait a second. We got a problem here because there aren't any. The federal government screwed up the inventory here. You see, the feds here controlled the purchasing. Then they give it to the provinces, and the provinces give it to the wherever. And they've screwed it up at every level. So later today, the prime minister will tell us, listen, don't worry, it's coming. There are 3 million allocated for Quebec. There are millions allocated for the rest of Canada. But once again, if I need a test, I can't get one. So what's the answer by the government? Okay, if you're sick, here's what you're going to do. Stay home. Isolate yourself. Oh, and by the way, go to our website and register yourself that you're sick, that you're COVID. Stuart is sitting at home with a really bad cold. He is not COVID. But if I listen to what the government says, based on their attitude, we should register him as COVID. It's a false positive. It's a false number. And again, the numbers is all that you get thrown into your face. Tens of thousands of people have COVID. Millions have COVID. Blah, 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 blah. This is what they want to do. Panic. Panic. Confusion. Now that's in Canada. But my favorite, this was brilliant. You see, I was catching the news and Mr. Biden, what does he say? Google where you can find a test center. We're not going to help you. We can't help you. Just Google it. Let's go back to the blame game. A year ago, Mr. Biden, actually even before a year ago, during the election in 2020, he claimed that Mr. Trump was the cause of the spread of COVID, that he was going to save Americans with vaccinations. A year later, he has not. There are more COVID cases today in the United States than ever before. And he said, if you need a COVID test, Google it. Could you imagine the Democrats' response if Donald Trump would have said to Americans, Google it? You know, the media is still chasing Donald Trump, believing that Donald Trump is against vaccinations, that he's against, COVID, that he's against. I mean, come on, get off the blame game, people. If you really are concerned about COVID testing, do something. There's always a promise of mañana. Tomorrow it'll come. Tomorrow we'll deliver. Tomorrow you'll have it. There are millions of Americans and millions of Canadians are waiting for tests. And yet, it's not available. The home tests we were promised are hard to find. I went out yesterday to try to find tests. I can't find any in my neighborhood. Well, I looked online. I Googled it, Mr. Biden. Can't find any. The government doesn't do its job. So we blame. We create this confusion. Oh, wait. Can I add more to the confusion? Yeah. Let's do it this way. So the CDC updated its recommendation on isolation and quarantining for the general population. This came out at the end of December, where they decided that where once it was 14 days, then it went to 10 days, and now it says very specifically that if you are at least double vaccinated, then you are asymptomatic or your symptoms have been really gone with more than 24 hours, within 5 days, you could be out of isolation. This is the CDC, right? The science people. But Dr. Fauci decided, no. I'm not going to listen to the CDC. I mean, really? Why, Dr. Fauci? Only vaccines work? Apparently not. But the CDC has come out with this, and several states and provinces said, you know what? I like this. And then you have the people like the Faucis in this world and others who have said, no. So on one hand, governments and politicians are saying, we trust the science, we rely on the science. And then the CDC, which is the science, comes out and says, hey, yeah, you don't have to isolate for more than 5 days if you meet these conditions. And the government says, no, you need to do it for 10. What the hell? And the media, instead of reporting this properly and accurately, and the media statement is extremely clear by the CDC, creates ongoing confusion, therefore frustrating the living hell out of people. Let's go back to confusion. Let's go back to the blame game. So here in Quebec, the government has decided that it's not enough. We need to shame the unvaccinated even more. So if I want to go to a gym, a hockey rink, a restaurant, or whatever, in many places, I needed a vaccine to prove that I'm double vaccinated, a vaccine passport, if you will. I was in New York City in December. I had to show it. Here in Montreal, I have to show it. Fine. I don't love it, but it's part and parcel of the game. But now to make it worse, to make Quebecers feel worse, to make them feel like absolute garbage because it's the unvaccinated that is the problem, the government is considering vaccine passports at liquor and cannabis stores. That's right. If you want to buy booze or pot at the legal shops, you gotta be double vax. I mean, really? This is great. So if I want to buy beer, I mean, I can buy beer in grocery stores and I can buy them at convenience stores and I don't need a passport. But if I want to buy the hard stuff, the scotches and the rums and the vodkas of this world, I'm going to have to show a vaccine passport. And for those of you who are interested in cannabis, and it's not me, but if those of you who are interested in cannabis and you're going to go buy your stuff legally, well, now you need to show a passport, and that will deter many people to go get vaccinated. No. That's just going to create an underground, a black market. It's going to create exactly what the government didn't want to create in the first place. Again, let's really frustrate people. The government likes to blame and decided that the unvaccinated are the cause for all of our malaises. It's very hard. It's very frustrating as an individual to figure out what's right, what's wrong anymore. Right? And let me finish with this one. This one is just an absolute joke for me. And it's going to go into the sports world where Novak Djokovic, the number one player in the world, the defending champion for the Australian Open, who has refused to admit if he's vaccinated or not, was given a special exemption to go back to Australia to defend his title. Everybody else who comes to the Australian Open has to prove vaccination, except him, because he's the number one guy. He's made a big deal about never wanting to get vaccinated. And yet he's permitted. Australia, which is supposedly overly, they sanction everybody. They close the country down. They do all this stuff. Made an exception for Novak Djokovic. I mean, you want to talk about ongoing confusion? Like, what message does this send out to everybody? It's simple, folks. The government hasn't a clue what it's doing. It's confusing me. It's confusing you. The numbers that the media continues to push are unreal and wrong. They're not only inaccurate, they're misleading. And if you look into hospitalizations, once again, what they're not telling you is, why are they in the hospital? Is it because it's only COVID? Is it COVID with something else? No, they're not telling you this because it doesn't push the fear. The ICUs are not overwhelmed like they were a year ago. Thank God. But yes, hospitals are overwhelmed. And they're blaming COVID for ruining the healthcare system. For God's sakes, the healthcare system's been screwed up for so many decades. Don't blame COVID for the problem. The government hasn't done its job. It didn't plan right. It didn't allocate right. It's not working itself right. All it's doing is saying, trust me, we know what to do. But at the end, they don't. They're winging it, and they're hurting you, and they're hurting me in the process. I don't want to sit at home anymore. I don't want to have to be isolating. I don't want to be quarantining because the government decided by the seat of their pants that that's what's right for you and me. This confusion is aggravating and is causing unnecessary harm. Mental health is on the rise. People are disgusted. Suicide rates are up. And government and the media aren't addressing these key issues. They're pretending that if we vaccinate the unvaccinated, this problem will go away. There was a story called Lies My Mother Told Me. It's more lies my government and media have told me. The leadership is incompetent and is incapable of doing this right. They need to really deal with the science, present the facts properly, and then maybe we can actually live rather than this bullshit. Folks, that's it for me. I hope Stuart will be well enough to be back here on Friday. Look forward to seeing you all then. Wishing you all a healthy, safe,